Let's get it!
Broadcasting to you from a little grass shack in the middle of the Pacific.
Live in the place to be.
Well, they're actually in the Bay Area.
Yes!
But they are the premier Faika show that shines a spotlight on positive Pacific Islanders.
You listening to the sound.
Role models coming brown every Thursday night at 6.
East to west, we getting heard.
Brought to you by Faika by Design. It's the iconic Faika podcast with your hosts, Naki and Carl.
What's up, Naki?
What's up?
It's Cancer Awareness Month. Did you know that?
Cancer Awareness Month. Yes, I unfortunately did know that.
So cancer holds a special place in our heart here at PBD. So this episode is going to be dedicated to Cancer Awareness Month. We're here with Mamasyl and Cree from All My Usos and Fatasi Youth Services. And, you know, we're going to talk about the ugly C word, of which we're not afraid to say. We don't say C word. We say cancer around here. And we're going to talk about some of the experiences we have and what Cancer Awareness Month means to us. All of us have been touched by cancer. So it's going to have a different meaning for each of us. And we always like to reach out to the community and hear from always Mamasyl and Cree because of how they've been touched by cancer and how they deal with it. I think there's a piece of that. So in our pre-show, Cree had talked about, you know what, let's talk about how it really goes down. Like sometimes people don't see the things that go on behind the scenes, both from a support standpoint and from going through cancer, you know, ourselves, for those that are that have gone through the journey or still are on the journey. So, Naki, they don't need an introduction. Do you want to let the audience know who our two guests are this week?
Oh yeah, Mamasyl is the VP, Executive Director for Fatasi. You've got so many roles. She's everything of Fatasi. Mamasyl, Selinger-Tauala and Christine Mauia, who's the Executive Director for All My Usos. Welcome to the show. We're going to be talking about everything and anything, but I'll let you go ahead and I'll let Mamasyl start first and tell us a little bit more about yourself and your family before we get started, and then we'll go to Christine.
Hey, everybody. Sylvia, Selinger-Tauala, Chief of Operations, also a recent graduate. So CHW, Community Health Worker, also known as Mamasyl, married to Tauala Jr., and my kids are Jayzel and Ray Lewis sometimes when they act right. And I'm here with sisters Naki and Cree and brother Carl. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. Go on, Cree.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hello, Naki and Carl. Thank you for having me on the show tonight. My name is Christine Mauia. I'm the Executive Director for All My Usos. I'm also the widow to Taupolo Mauia III, also known as JT, who's been gone for about 6 years now. I'm a mother of 3, grandmother of 3, and yeah, I'm just here to talk about and share my story and yeah, just a chat.
I love how that just rolls off the tongue, because before, when you started speaking, you kind of thrust in the spotlight and none of that flowed. You know what I mean? And now you're just confident in, you know, your role in the community, your role with AMU, you know, and the legacy that you're carrying forward. So when I hear you say those kind of words, I'm like, man, she just flows with it. She got the gift of gab at this point. So great to see, you know, the both of you. Cancer Awareness Month once again. And I think that, you know, cancer has touched so many of us in our community, the Pacific Islander community. It's a small community, right? So it's not like, you know, when we talk about, some people say 6 degrees of separation, right? Like, oh, if you go 6 deep, we're all connected to somebody. In the PI community, Naki and I always say it's like 1.5, maybe. Like sometimes it's less than we even know. So when something, you know, as powerful as cancer hits us, it's because it's a small community. You know, it really, we were just having a discussion earlier, right? Of, oh my gosh, like these kind of things, people have it, we don't know about it. Some people go through it quietly, right? Some people don't raise their hand and say much about it. Other people share everything. So, everybody experiences it different. So, Naki, I want to start with you. How's your cancer with journey? What does your cancer with journey look like at this point?
Yeah, I think it good. I had lymphoma, of course, that's cancer of the blood. And so I've been in remission since 22, 21.
No more
And
chemo
so
was in 2021.
what's that?
I think no more chemo was in 2021.
Okay, 21. So that's 3 years.
Oh,
So
yeah, it was
mm,
definitely after COVID.
yeah, definitely during COVID. But I think that some of the things that we don't talk about, and I love that we have this conversation during this time, even though some people might have heard it and some people don't understand. Like we hear cancer and we automatically think of a negative thought. But I I really want to stress the fact that not only did I have cancer, but my whole family went through an emotional roller coaster. Like trying to be strong for me trying to be strong for them, and no one really letting their real feelings go because we're trying to protect one another from crying. I didn't want my family to. I think I was always smiling and laughing or trying to stay strong because I didn't want people to come up to me and feel sorry for me. And I mean, it did happen anyway. And I think a lot of it, I turned into mom, like, it's okay, it's okay. You'll be okay. You know what I mean? Like I'm supporting everybody. I think it's our family that really took a hit because I mean, of course I took a hit, but what worried me was my kids and them stressing and Mo. And so I'm in remission. And I think that a big part of what we go through, as a family. And I don't think people really understand how that is. Like when I went when I went to chemo, um, my kids would just show up, and they have to work and they have to, so I get it. But I'm in remission, so I'm happy about that. And I just continue to go to my doctor's appointments on a regular basis. I didn't before go, I never went to go see the doctors on a regular basis. It just because of cancer. And I know because cancer shook me, I go when I'm supposed to go. I do my blood work when I'm supposed to do my blood work because now I have grandbabies and I want to be around for them. But that's just a little bit of what I wanted to touch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mamasyl, we can kind of roll with that. Playing the role, right? The role that you had prior to cancer, but going through cancer and still trying to maintain that role. Was that something from your experience that like Naki was talking about, that you have this role of a cancer survivor as you're going through it, but then you've got this whole other role that you've had your whole life that you're trying to maintain? Did you experience the same thing?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I was never home. Cancer slowed me down. Cancer was like, hold on, and put things really into perspective. Like there's more important things, my family, my kids, my grandkids. I loved my job, but the job didn't love me the way that I thought it did.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take care of me. It didn't feed me. It didn't make me food. It didn't hold my hair when I was, sick in the bathroom. It didn't do any of that. So that was a perspective. And like Naki was saying, I was the silent survivor. Like my husband didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want me going on any of the shows. He wanted us to fight it in private. And I think for him, he had a hard time talking about it because people would call and they would be crying. Like I would be, like Naki said, you're consoling them and you're like, I'm okay, but they're immediately calling because a lot of times you hear the word cancer and immediately you think death, right? You think, all I know is people have died from this. So, we had to really it really slowed me down, and physically it slowed me down, like things that I was able to do prior to the chemo and the radiation. The energy level, I just don't have it as like I did. But Christine says this all the time. People showed up for you that you didn't think were going to show up. And then people who you thought were going to show up never even called you.
Yeah, I think that's a tough part of the journey. Because I'm a survivor, but then I've seen people go through it, right? And I've had to think like, how do I show up? You know what I mean? And some people, I think they just kind of freeze. Like they think, well, I should show up, but then do I call? And then a week or two goes by, and then maybe and I don't know, but I mean, I just think maybe then at that point they're like, well, I didn't call in the first couple weeks, and then now it's been a month, and then I'm just not going to call. But I don't know, but I think that a lot of people just don't know exactly how to respond and kind of freeze. That free fight, flight, freeze, or whatever that whole thing. I think that there are loved ones that kind of go through that and are like, I have no idea. I don't know what would I say if I call. So tough to see that happen. And I think Cree brings up a great point that some people show up in ways that you'd be like, wow, I never would have thought that they would show up like this. And then there's others that don't react the same way. Cree, from your standpoint, going through your journey, your role, did you try to hang on to your role when you were going through your process with JT, or were you able to just let go of that and just go to full support? Or did you experience the same thing that Sil and Naki have talked about?
Yeah, I think I experienced the same thing. But I tried to, when I got the notice that JT had cancer, I felt like I jumped in more to try to use my whatever, I don't know what it is, but I wanted to kind of take control because I thought, well, I'm pretty good at this. I know that I can take control and I'll get things done. I'll make sure he attends his appointments, and thinking that, or had the hopes of that I could fix this. And I thought that if I could make everything, I tried to at least take all the stress off of JT with our family, our kids, our household bills, everything, because I wanted him to focus on getting better in his treatment versus the other stresses that we had. So I had the mommy role, the wife role, the caregiver role, all at one time. And it was pretty stressful, along with going through the emotional roller coaster that you're dealing with when you're going through treatment and just different things. And I also took on the role of, I guess, therapist, because people were calling to and they were full on, like, in tears. And I know it's shocking, like, that kind of news, because it was shocking for us too. But we had to console so many people while trying to go through it as a family as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the toughest things. So I told, I think 2 or 3 people, I had 2 or 3 phone calls, and I knew right away, like, I can't do this 30 times. You know what I mean? And my wife, Nicole, ended up talking to everybody after those first 3 calls. And I had people that were saying, like, why am I talking to you? Why am I not talking to Carl? Because it was too much for me, because I spent time on the phone going, hey, it's somehow it's going to be okay. Or, like, I'm trying to console people. And that was exhausting for me with only 3 times. And I did the math of, like, the list of names that I had. I'm like, I just won't do it. I mean, they won't know if it's up to me. And I don't know what I would have done without having someone to take that on. You know what I mean? I know that Naki leveraged her daughter, a lot. Like, hey, you need to talk to Minna, because I think that's not something that's spoken a lot about. You almost become a caretaker when you're the one going through the journey, or you're the one directly supporting somebody, and then you're trying to talk people off the ledge. I think Naki was talking about that. She goes, I've talked like 3 people off the ledge today. I can't do I can't do anymore. And I think that's a tough one to explain why that's difficult. And then to me, as I was going through it, I was like, I didn't want to take calls sometimes because I would look and go, that's going to be an exhausting conversation. Sometimes I was up for it. Sometimes I was like, that's just going to roll the voicemail. Like
Yeah.
I just don't have the energy for it. I want to kind of stay on the topic of our families, and talk about what is it like to see your family go through, go through it. For me, seeing my kids go through, they were like 15, I think 14, 15, and they're adult sized people, right? But emotionally, I was always wondering, like, wow, what is it like being a teenager with all the problems that teenagers have? So watching them go through it and not really understanding, having really good conversations with them where I'm sure they're being 100% honest, and being that they were teenagers, like that's an important time in their life. I really struggled with that when I was going through that. I was like, I don't know how my kids are really dealing with it. Of course, they're like, "Oh, I'm good, Dad. I love you," that kind of thing. So that was one of the toughest thing for me, was to see them go through it, and just see them kind of go through their own struggles with it. I'll bounce to Mamasyl. Was there any part that was particularly tough for you, seeing your family or loved ones? Doesn't have to be like blood family, but it could be some. Was there anybody that, or any process that you were like, man, I really feel for the people that are trying to support?
Yeah. My sisters, they had a hard time. Because we did the genealogy, and lucky me, I'm the only one with cancer. Everybody has heart attacks, high blood pressure. And so it's like, my sisters, my mom, definitely my kids and my husband, and we had at the time, my father-in-law lived with us. So that was like my other dad. And then I have my parents here too. So just all my family. They had, my husband especially, he didn't even want to talk about it. There were points where, we would have a conversation. And so I say this all the time to her. She knows. Cree, thank you so much, because I would have some things going on and I would call her and she'd go, yeah, that happened to JT, do this, or, I couldn't taste anything, get some hard cake. And then she would just be at the door. Here, this is what you need. Here, you need to take blankets. Here, when you go to your appointments, I'd be doing chemo and they were saying, like 1 or 2 people, and, she'd just pop up. So he really my husband wouldn't let me out of the house. And so I would tell Cree, gosh, I want to just go somewhere. And she was able to like come and pick me up and take me to the movies, take me out to eat. And you really do need, that support system, and you need somebody that your family, Cree's like my sister anyway. So he really trusted her. Plus he knew, that she had to do, all of this with JT. But my family, my husband specifically had a really hard time. I look at it now that cancer was a little bit of a blessing for me, because I had never taken time off of work. And it was just a whole year time off of work. I was able to potty train JoJo, spend all this time with my grandson, spend all this time with Junior's dad and with Junior, and just being in this atmosphere of family. Really, that was like the best thing that happened with the cancer. Like that's probably, obviously that's probably the only thing that happened, but yeah, but just want to say that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's, you're way ahead, because at the end I was going to say, what are some of the positive things? And people, I think if we didn't phrase that right, I think people would probably look at me like, what do you mean positive things came out of, like, what good comes out of cancer? But and it takes a special person to look at that and go, I did get something positive out of that. Like I can slow down and look at life different, or, whatever those things are. So I think watching our family go through it, seeing our loved ones go through it, probably particularly tough for you, for Cree to be your sister there's probably only a few people that could jailbreak you, right? And that was, she was one of the few. But then knowing that, she has that knowledge from experience, right? So there could have been some, I'm not guilt, but you know what I mean? I can see where you're like, she knows how to answer these questions because she's kind of been down this path before. Cree, how about you? Was there any particular person in that was watching y'all go through it that you were concerned about?
Yeah, I think my kids, because just the role, mom and dad always handle everything and just take care of everything. And their dad was such a strong guy and a good provider. So to see him go through chemo and just his different appointments and just to watch that whole process, I'm sure that they were fearful and, scared of what was to come. But just being the type of person that I am, I rarely allowed anybody to say negative stuff or anything. I just wanted to have all positivity around him. So and maybe now that looking back, I probably made it a little bit harder for them to voice anything because I just wanted to hear that he was going to be okay and we're going to get through this. And but behind closed doors, of course, I would, take it all and just take, I felt like the weight of the world, even my kids too, but I think it was my kids more so, just watching this all play out. um, and just, being fearful that they were going to lose their dad, someone who has been there from day one and just took care of our family. So I think it was them more so, but, just not wanting to hear anything negative, not only from my kids, but anyone. I shut it down real quick, and I didn't want even JT to have anything in his mind because I wanted him to focus on getting through the treatment, going through the surgery, and just going through all that, and just encouraging him and making him feel. From everything that he had to go through, I took the role on scheduling all his appointments, dealing with the doctors. It was to a point where they didn't even give him any info. They already knew that I was going to call and deal with it. When I felt like the nurses weren't, like they were poking him too much or just whatever, I shut it down, fired that nurse, had another nurse come in, like to a point where my husband would be like, babe, it's okay. No, it's not okay. And I know nurses, I give them all the credit and love. I know that they go through a lot of things dealing with people, but they deal with hundreds and thousands. I'm just dealing with the one. So I want the best for the one, But I, just looking back on our journey, I feel so blessed that he had a good team of doctors. He had a good team of nurses, our family and community, great. They all came out and supported us. There was a lot of people that I thought would be there that weren't there. But the overall support that we got was nothing that I could have even imagined. And I didn't realize it at the time because you're going through it. And all I want to know is he cancer free? Is he getting through this? But looking back at our journey, I feel so honored and blessed that we did have a huge support system. Going to appointments, I would see people come in by themselves with no one, and then go, have their chemo and then go home by themselves. So they would have nobody to keep them company, nobody to talk to. I just felt like, no hope. There was even some people who didn't even speak English that were in the chair. I would hear in the other, because it's just a curtain dividing the patients. And they're speaking, they're speaking English to the patient, and the patient doesn't even understand what they're talking about. So I just saw a lot of things like it was just a constant reminder of, I'm so thankful that, moments that I didn't want to be in the room crying, I would just step out. But JT had a whole team, he would go to appointments with like 10 people plus. And we'd rotate in and they'd kind of stay in there and laugh all day. And to a point where JT had his own room already set up for him when we went to appointments. And it was more of a private room because they, these big guys and they're laughing and just, having a good time while he was, trying to keep his spirits up while he was going through chemo. He did aggressive treatment the first 9 months of his treatment, the first round of treatment, he did aggressive treatment. So his chemo appointments would last 8 to 9 hours.
Yeah, those are some of the things that people who haven't gone through it or haven't gone through it with loved ones, might not understand that, you got 6 bags to get through and it takes, an hour and 10 minutes for one bag. And then you have to wait a certain amount of time between this bag and that bag. Those are things that, you hear about treatment and you think, oh, in and out and done. Sometimes it's a all day thing. So real quick before we go to Naki, I want to say this. If you made mistakes, if I made mistakes, if we made mistakes as we went through the journey, like it was just out of, it was not there's no ill intention with that, right? I liken going through this like being a parent, right? I'm doing the best that I can, and I didn't know how to be a parent. I still probably don't know how to be a parent, but I'm doing the best that I can. And I think that we all do the best we can in the moment, in the journey. And yeah, we're gonna look back and go, I guess I could have done that different. But in the moment, you're trying to survive. You're trying to make that walk, put one foot in front of the other. Don't don't feel bad if because yeah, we had it all to do again. Might do yesterday different. You know what I mean? More or less go through a huge journey like that. So,
Yeah.
and then for the supporters out there, if you are an advocate for someone going through cancer, my wife did the same thing that Cree was describing. And my oncologist actually said, it's good that you're doing this because I've got just like you said, I've got hundreds of patients. You've only got one husband. And so he was like telling her, good, hey, point things out because I'm going to see, I'm going to go in another room 14 more times today. And you've only got, you're only here, you've got only one husband. So if you're an advocate, don't feel hesitant to stand up and advocate.
Yeah.
Neki, how about you? Is there a particular family member or supporter or somebody that was tough to watch them go through it?
I think Mo and my kids, same thing. They just they would smile when they enter the room I was in, but I could see it on their face. They were just scared. And then it just made me try to pep up and be positive. And even though I knew I was scared and didn't want to really face it, but because of Mo and my kids, I had to kind of like, be strong. And I used to hate when I started to lose my hair. And that's another thing, right? Like we're women and our hair is like, I don't know, to me, it was like, I need my hair. And then when I started to lose my hair, and then I just decided to shave it off, I think that was a hard thing for me. And then I would see people who would see me and I could see it in their face. Their eyes would get so wide when they'd see me. And then I knew, here it comes. They're going to start crying. And I had family members who would come up to me just start crying. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do? And then that was hard for me to take in. So I kind of didn't want to go to certain family things because people would just start crying when they see me. And I was actually in a good mood or happy to be out. That was a big toll, but I think Mo and my kids was the hardest. But to piggyback on what they spoke about earlier about people disappearing, and we talk about this all the time, so, and I want to make a point to mention it is because people that are going through cancer treatment now or starting your journey, people are going to go away. And then people you didn't realize that were there for you are going to come and support. And me too. Like Cree and I knew each other. We knew each other for years, but we didn't know each other like we know each other now. And it started when I got diagnosed with cancer and everybody found out. And Cree called or texted me and said, hey, you want to go to dinner? If there's anything and she's going through cancer with JT. And for her to reach out to me and say, let's go to lunch or let's go do this. And if you need a ride, if you need anything, let me know. From there, I knew we were going to have like a really, I'm her side thing. Sylvia is the wife and I'm the side thing. But from that on, I think cancer really opened my eyes to a lot of people. Like, and I think because it's been years, like people that disappeared, in my train of thought, to me, I think that they disappeared because they couldn't handle thinking that I'm going to die, right? So they just blocked it out. And I think that's my understanding now. But when it first happened, I was so butthurt, like my heart hurted. that people that I thought were really close to me were going to come with me to my appointments or meet me there, but that's not where they were during that time in my life, right? They couldn't do it. So I get that now, but when I was going through cancer, it hurt my soul. It hurt my soul. And so it took me a minute to understand that people have to go through what they have to go through. And I had to understand that it wasn't, for them, it wasn't about me. It was about them going through dealing with, is she going to die? And what, so that took me a minute, but it also realized that people that are sincere and know what you're doing, know what you're going through. It meant so much for Cree to reach out to me and take me out of my take me out of my normal, because I got tired of talking to people that really love me. All they were doing were crying, and I can go and have lunch with Cree and we talk about food and try different foods, and so to have someone to take you to a different outside of the cancer world was really important. And I know, Sister Syl, that I know what you're talking about, like to have someone take you outside of that so that you didn't have to be the brave person for your family. You could just be yourself. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
That's all our 2 cents, right? And that's what we do. We tell stories. We tell our stories. We tell how we feel. We talk to our community. Kind of just going through this. Is there, because we're going to get to the brighter side of the awareness month, right? But any recommendations for either a supporter, advocate, or somebody going through cancer, right? So speaking to people that have a loved one that's walking the journey now, or to people who are walking the journey right now. And it doesn't, I'm a survivor. I may give some advice to people who are advocates, right? Because I see what my wife goes through, right? So it doesn't have to be from, only from your perspective to the people that are going through the same thing. But is there any advice that you would give to somebody who's going through it? And I'll go first. I'll model it. I would say to the advocates, right? I would say don't be afraid to dive in, and they'll probably tell you to back up if you need to back up, right? But as a survivor, having gone through it, I was never going to ask anybody for more help, right? I'm just not going to do that. I might say, hey, I don't need help with that, but I'm not going to, just personally, and maybe for people that as well, you're just not going to, call somebody up and go, hey, can you give me a ride to something next Thursday? Just not going to do it. I don't know. It's not in me. Right. So if you're an advocate or a supporter, just dive in. And if the person needs you to, oh no, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. To me, that felt better than thinking I've got to, is okay for me to pick up the phone and ask for help. Because if you're going through it, you don't want to ask for help. You may want to turn down help, you know what I mean? Or no, I don't need that. But if you could do this. But yeah, I would just say that if you're supporting or an advocate, dive in head first, just like Cree did. And then if there's, reining you in a little bit, it's going to be easier than trying to, raise my hand and ask for help. So I'll go to Cree on that point. And any advice either for somebody who's walking the journey or is going through as an advocate or a supporter?
Yep. I just encourage folks to, if you know that someone is battling cancer or going through treatment, like Carl said, I just would recommend that you show up for people. A lot of times when we say that people didn't show up for us who we thought was going to show up, it takes a piece out of you because you just assume that those people are going to be there and hold your hand through it. Or even not hold your hand, but at least just be there to just talk to you or to help you through it. but I encourage people just to show up for people. And that can be anything. I mean, maybe prepare dinner, just drop dinner off. A lot of times we tend to know, like maybe if you know a family's battling cancer, you might know their schedule with their kids. You might know that the wife maybe is a cook, but now she's battling cancer, so maybe she can't cook. Like reach out to some you guys circle. Maybe everybody plan on cooking when it's her week of chemo, because usually when someone goes through chemo, they're probably down for about a week, 7 days. So you just reach out to your circle, and it's not even nothing that you have to like talk to the family. Just that they need dinner, they have little kids or whatever. Just go do it and show up with it. I think that's what helped me the most is the people that did show up. They just showed up with certain things, and now looking back, it felt like they came at the right time. Like, like God knew what we needed, and they might have thought that it was little things, but they didn't know that those were things that we needed. And I just, like Carl said, I'm not going to call you and say, hey, I need this and I can't, because when we're not all, I mean, as a caregiver and just supporting my husband through it, usually I'm a strong person. Like I just get things done and do what needs to be done. But when we first got the diagnosis, I felt like everything was just so cloudy. Like I couldn't even gather my thoughts to say, do I make a left? Do I make a right? Like a lot of times I just couldn't even gather my thoughts and think straight. So to have those family members just show up with dinner and show up with different things, take me outside of the cancer world and like get me away from my family so that I could be myself, little things like that, even a text to, hey, I'm just thinking about you. I want to encourage you, Creed. Even those little things just helped me through the process. So I think it just meant more to us when you're in a dark place, when you're in a storm like that, you need people to help you along the way. So it doesn't have to be anything big and extravagant. You don't even have to show up with the cure to cancer. Just showing up just to sit on my couch and just will help me wipe my tears away, or just be the listening ear. You can just be silent and I can just vent, It's there's so many different things. So I just encourage people just to show up for family, and you'll know if they'll say, oh no, I don't need that, or you'll know, and just back off if you need to, or maybe you could reach out. Maybe you might have a resource that family needs, because a lot of times the family is just like everything comes to a halt. The person going through treatment is not unable to work. The caregivers are now, their life is a little disrupted because they have to make sure that their loved one is taken care of. So now maybe they can't go to work. So bills need to be paid, different things. So as much as people can do to show up for people, I think it's important.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I would talk to people and they'd say, okay, so if you need anything, just give me a call. And I would get off the phone and I'd say, in my mind, I'd be like, I love you for making the phone call and telling me you care. I could never pick up the phone and say, hey, could you drop off dinner next Thursday because of something, something, something. I knew that, hey, just give me a call if you need anything it was heartfelt, right? Mainly because they said it and I was talking to them, but the back end of it, I don't think any of us are built for that, right? Like, hey, I need this favor.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thank you, Cree. Mamasyl, how about you? Advice for either side, somebody going through it or somebody supporting someone going through it?
I would say for someone going through it, if you're like, I was lucky, I had Kaiser, and they had so many different support groups that I can go to, and just listening to other people's experience and journeys, able to talk. And because they were strangers, I kind of felt like, I could just say what I needed to say and not felt judged about it. But also I wanted to mention the don'ts. If you are calling me to say this water will cure your cancer, like I had so many of the, oh, you have to take this herb and you have to, spend 3 times in under the sun in order, those are probably calls that you don't want to hear, because at the time you're not feeling like yourself. And, we want to be respectful of everybody. But if you're calling to tell me to drink this water because it's going to cure my cancer, then, that's probably something you don't want to do.
I think that the don'ts are as important as the do's, right? So we're talking a lot about, hey, do this, do this, do that. The don'ts are very important. And I think that anybody who's been through the journey has heard, all of the say Candyman 3 times and or whatever you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
We've heard those. So great point with that. We don't that's probably not. We've probably done the research 55,000 times over. And if you looked at our searches or on the search engines, there's probably all kinds of stuff that were gyrations we're trying to go through to get the information. So really good point. Naki, how about you?
I'd say take someone with you to your doctor's appointments and an advocate. Like my first appointment, I took Nicole, Carl's wife, and I sat there and listened to everything that the doctor said, and I think I was in shock because during the appointment, the doctor said, "I'm going to take you off of work now, so that you'll be available for when the appointments or when chemo is going to start." And we got out, and my daughter was with me, and we got out of the appointment, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll just wait for her, and I'll go back to work on Monday." And both of them said, "No, you can't go to work." And I was like, "Why not? She took you off of work." And I was like, "No, she didn't. I heard the whole thing." And they're like, "No, she took you off of work. You're off of work." And I swore up and down that I did not hear it. But I think during my appointment, I was in La La Land, just in disbelief. And I went home and had to call her back because I didn't believe them. I didn't believe that. I didn't hear that. And she said, "Yeah, you're off of work. You can't go back to work." So I think it's important to take someone with you that can take notes and listen. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned taking Nicole to my doctor appointments is that those doctors work for you. They'll sit there and answer all your questions. And if you don't understand anything, have them explain, "What do you mean by that? What do you mean by this?" And that really opened my eyes to ask the questions that I needed to ask. So that was important. I learned that was very, very important. And you also have to be your own advocate. You have to ask the questions that if you don't ask the questions, those doctors are not going to tell you anything because they pretty much stick to whatever you ask. They don't give you more. They don't give you less. They just give you what you ask for. So I think taking someone with you to your appointments, for me, that helped, other than Mo, because Mo didn't ask him. And normally we just go with whatever the doctor said. "Oh, take this pill. Okay, I'll take that pill." We have to question. I've learned to question, why do I need to take this pill? What is it going to do? So that helped. And just prayer. I think prayer. I know my faith is strong. So otherwise I wouldn't be here. I really believe that prayer and doing what I'm supposed to do. If the doctor told me don't go, take these pills, I took those pills. Do this, do that. I did everything that she asked me to do and stayed faithful. So, yeah.
Yeah, I got the phone call after your appointment from Nicole, and she said, "Naki's not okay." I go, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "She straight did not hear or claimed." And she was like, "Do you think Naki really didn't hear, or you think she was just trying to?" I said, "No, I believe she didn't hear it. If she just wanted to go back to work, she'd probably just say, 'I'm okay.' But if she said she didn't hear it, she didn't hear it." And I think it's a great point as you go through things. If you know that you're not going to probably take the information well, and that's the thing, a doctor's appointment is going to be like I think the average doctor's appointment is like 4 minutes. They're going to come in, they're going to see what you get, they're going to ask if you got any questions. If you don't got any questions, bam, they're heading to the next patient in the next room, and they're going to clear you out and get another patient in, which it's not the greatest thing, but then that's the kind of taking the ownership as either the advocate or the patient of, okay, what would the side effects look like? What should I be concerned about? What's an ER call and what's a call to the advice nurse? Like those kind of things, so that you're not at home wondering, "Oh, he's scratching, he's got a rash. Was that a call night, take to the hospital, or was that a call to the advice nurse?" Those kind of things. You got to be your own advocate. So now I kind of want to get into two things. I want, what do you feel like people should take away from Cancer Awareness Month, right? And then we'll wrap it up with and Mamasyl was way ahead of us. She already said one of the positive things that that she's been able to take away from it. But what do you hope that people, what's important for you for people to know on Cancer Awareness Month? And we'll go in reverse order and ask Naki first this time.
For Cancer Awareness Month, you just really have to get your checkup and be persistent. Ask the questions. Ask for the blood work. Ask for a full blood work. So sometimes they just do, oh, my sugar was a little high. So they'll just send you to the lab to check your sugar. Ask for all of it, the whole blood work, because you never know what you're in. And really keep your appointments. Like, really go to the doctor. Ask the questions. It doesn't matter. Any little thing. I had cramps, on my side, and I was like, oh, okay. I went to the doctor, told them that my side hurt, and they were like, oh, indigestion, take some pills, and you'll be fine. I did that for a while until, if it had it not been for the car accident, I was telling Cree earlier, had it not been for the car accident that Carl and I got into, that I went to a trauma center, that they found the lymphoma. So, but really just staying on track with your appointments. We all have kids, we have grandkids. We want to see them live. We want to see, our kids experience. We want to see them get married. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be around for that. So make your appointments, go to the doctors. So that's it. That's all I got.
Good for Awareness Month. Good to start that off that way. Mamasyl, how about you? It's Cancer Awareness Month. What do you want people to take away from it?
All my Usos just did their blood drive on the 5th of October. When I did the surgeries, I needed blood. So, go out there and be a superhero. Try to save some lives if you can, and donate blood. Our people, we don't talk about taboo topics and we don't donate blood, but I think it's really important that you do that, because you are definitely saving lives. And then another thing is, if you do know someone who is battling cancer, make that phone call and just check up on them. And if you can offer something, offer it. And if you can't and you need assistance, then give us a call.
Well said. Well said. Be a superhero. Be a lifesaver, right? Cree, how about you? What's important for you for people to know during this month?
Yep, I think these ladies kind of said it, but I think the main thing for me and why I'm glad we're able to be on this show today is because I want to encourage people to get checked up. A lot of times our people don't, we don't care to go to the hospital for many different reasons. Sometimes we're too busy. Maybe we're fearful of what the doctor is going to say. But a lot of times I think the percentages are higher that there's just minor adjustments that they would tell you to make, like lose weight, maybe change your diet, things like that. It's not always going to be extreme like you have cancer. So I encourage folks, and I hope out of this interview that at least one person goes and gets checked up. But also I would encourage people to take it a step further and get your entire family checked up. Do your yearly exams. Let October be a month to remind you that there's some families that are not healthy. There's some families that are going through struggles. So let this month be a month to remind you to schedule your mammograms, schedule your eye exams, your dental exams, and not only for you, but the entire family. And I also encourage those around me, like, did you do your mammogram? Did you get your eyes checked? Did you, because a lot of times, prevention is better than cure. So I highly hope that, at least one person does that or takes away that from this call or this interview. But I also, I just encourage family members and just community to support each other. I think our mental health is not in a good place when we're going through something like cancer. And that's why we don't hear the doctors when the doctor gives you a diagnosis or a suggestion or whatever, because a million things is running through our mind. Job, bills, kids, husband, grandkid, like we're thinking of all these things. Yes, I heard you, but I didn't hear you. It went in one ear, out the other. Why would I listen to you when I'm worried about all these other things? So it's not done on purpose, but it's just something that happens. And I'm glad Naki brought that up, because I think it's helpful to take someone that's outside of your family, because a lot of times they're scared for the person who's battling. So they don't even hear it. So even though there could be 5 of you in there, maybe you, your husband, and your kids, everybody's scared, everybody's fearful, and they're just like looking at the doctor for answers, but they're not really hearing it because so many things are going through their mind, and all they want to know is that their loved one is going to be okay. And I say this all the time. I feel like, at least, if my husband was to walk through the door, I feel like I would be instantly healed. Like, nothing wrong. I'd be the happiest person. Sun is shining. So a lot of times, of course, we know that's not going to happen. So being that mental health is just, it's real. Um, it's helpful when community, family, friends come out and support one another. So I hope that also this interview also encourages people to show up for folks.
I can say that as a cancer survivor, I am always getting checked up on. I'm getting poked, I'm getting prodded, I'm doing blood tests, I'm doing all these things, and I can't help but think as I'm going through these, I'm like, man, if I'd have done a few more of this when I was quote unquote healthy, then maybe this, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I didn't find out I had cancer until it was advanced cancer, right? So prostate cancer, if it's in the prostate, they can just do surgery and take the prostate out. Cancer comes out with it. It was already in my hip, my rib, and my spine. So early detection is everything, right? The path looks completely different if it gets detected early. So I would just say the same thing. Get checked up. And I mean, like Cree's saying, do your regular checkups, get your eyes checked up, get your physical, get all of the different things. So here's what's funny, right? We talk about Hep B free, our sister Lena Malia Tulua. I was setting up my blood labs with my oncologist and just randomly popped in my head. I was like, hey, have I been tested for Hep B? And he was like, I would think they tested you early on when you are in the cancer journey, but I can check. And that was just a moment of clarity of like, we talk about it. We've had them on our show and everything. Then I'm like, wait a minute. Have I even said, we keep telling people, hey, just all you got to do is ask for it and they got to run it. But those are the kind of things, look at what's available out there and take advantage of all of it. If you've got benefits and you have eye exam, you have all those kind of things, do all of them because it's all connected. Your health is all connected. And if there's something wrong with your eye, that could be, they look into that and they find something else and they prevent something else from happening. You'll never know if you're not going to the checkup. So go to Esme, and I know how we are. I know how I was before I had cancer. Like, if I can skip a doctor's appointment, man, that's a win. If I can like flake and not show up or just not schedule it or whatever, that's the way I was. So yeah, get ahead of things, get checked up on every different front you've got. And prevention is better than a cure.
Yeah, Carl, can I just add to that? Because I know a lot of times, like a lot of our mindsets are like that. Like, I feel fine, I'm okay, we don't go get checked up. But I also want people to take a few moments to just think about that, because if you can take a few moments and think about how your family's life would be without you here. So if you were to pass away right now and you look at your wife or your husband and your kids, your grandkids, and they would all be fine and life as usual and no problem, then don't go get checked up. But if you could look at your family and see that, oh, they need me, I'm the provider, I'm this, I'm that, I'm needed, I'm loved, they're going to be devastated, then take those few moments, schedule your appointment, or ask your wife or your husband or whoever can help you and make that happen. Because if those few, maybe if you just took a time out to go to an appointment and they found something and they got it fixed for you or cured for you, it's going to save your family a whole lot of heartache. Because it's devastating. It's devastating to lose someone. My husband's been gone 6 years and I'm still dealing with grief, as well as my kids. And he wasn't even here to have the chance to meet our grandkids. So I highly encourage everyone, because a lot of people have that mindset, Carl, including us. I think we were guilty of that too. But now having went through all that, and now my husband not being here anymore with me, you look back like with regret, and just hoping that, being open and not suffering in silence and sharing my story, that it'll encourage other folks to go get their checkups and push for their family, because I'm pretty sure 9.9 times out of 10, your family's better off with you here and not in heaven.
Yeah, exactly that. And so that's what it's a great segue. Didn't even pay Cree to set it up this way. we're going to go into what's the positive things that we've taken away from the journey with cancer. I'll start, and I'm going to piggyback right off the top of that. I appreciate life way more now than I did before I had cancer. And if you would have asked me before I had cancer, I'd have been like, yeah, no, I appreciate life. I'm grateful for, yeah, live a life of gratitude. I said all those things. I see life completely different for those reasons, right? So that's the different. And so but I will say this, you don't have to have cancer to live like this. You can do that self-evaluation like Cree's talking about. Would your family be as good off as they are right now if you passed? And if the answer is, man, it's going to be a mess for them. Like, they're going to miss me. I'm going to miss all those kind of things. Live life that way. Live life that way. Go get checked out. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to not interrupt your life and the life of your loved ones. You don't need cancer to live like this, but I live my life way different. I'm very stingy with my time. I spend my time doing things that I like to do. And if I can cut something out of my life that doesn't bring me joy or happiness or value, man, I've done that. I've done those kind of things. So, and I always say that chemo and treatment, I do that. That's the medicine for the disease. Things like this, sharing time with ladies like you, that's medicine for my soul. Like, so there's medicine for the disease and medicine for the soul. Do the things that help you, make you happy. That's what I've gotten out of cancer. Naki, how about you? What have you gotten positive out of your journey with cancer?
I pretty much the same thing. I look at things a lot different now. I'm grateful for the time that I get to wake up every day and I get to see my grandbabies and my kids, and I still get to work Mo's nerves every day. That's a highlight. But I also I used to get pissed off all the time at the littlest things. And now the littlest things the things that used to bother me don't even bother me like they used to. I try not to waste my time with the bullshit. I think I did that a lot before cancer, and then after cancer, I'm grateful for the time that I have. I really don't sweat the small stuff. As soon as I get irritated with something or someone, I walk away. I just walk away and I just get out of that space and try not to enter or get in that conversation. I just walk away or I block it out. I've had boundaries now. So I don't think I had them before. But now I stick to my boundaries. There's people that I'm grateful for that I wasn't before. I just assumed people would be around all the time. And now I know that's not the case. And so I'm grateful for everyone that is in my life that has shown me and my family love. That's the most important thing is, people, your family isn't always blood related, right? And so I've gained a lot of sisters and brothers during this journey that I'm so grateful for. And I'm just grateful to be here every day. Yeah. And that's the good thing that came out of it. I think my mind is a lot more positive. I think a lot more positivity, or I try to bring it in. And then when negativity hits, I'm just like, oop, nope, I got to block you. I got to block you. So yeah, that is everything that has come out. The most positive thing is still being able to be on earth with my family and to work Mo's nerves. That's numero uno.
I'm Mo, most patient man in the world. Mamasyl, and you already went, right? Is there anything you just want to restate, or that anything that you haven't talked about positive that you've taken away from this journey?
I think I learned how to say no, which I would never do before. I had to learn how to say no because I just wasn't, I just didn't have that energy level. And I had to learn how to listen to Junior because I never listened to Junior. So if he said, you don't have the energy, you need to, I'm like, okay. So yeah, definitely learning how to listen to those who love me who are telling me to slow down because, of course, you just want to do everything for everybody. So yeah, that was a positive. And also, for all of us on this call, like we all learned how to be warriors. We all learned, that we can survive through everything and anything. Cree is a survivor. She's living without her husband, but she is still moving and she is doing things in our community for people. So there was something that she said when we were in Alaska. She found strength in her grief. And so, just encouraging you, Cree, to continue with that strength because I see it. And then Naki and Carl, we're warriors. We fought this thing and we're still fighting it, And so, just want to keep you guys encouraged. You guys are loved. I see you. Yeah, I see you and I love you guys.
Thank you, Mamasyl. Being able to say no, that is, we are all black belts in do too much, whatever martial art that is. We all do too much, but do too much of what you love. Don't do too much of the other stuff, right? Because then if you go to bed exhausted doing too much of the stuff you love, that's a good tired. You go to bed exhausted doing stuff you don't love, you got to take a page out of Mamasyl's book and learn how to say no. Good for you.
Yeah.
Cree, you kind of let us off with positive things that you've taken from it, but your thoughts on good things that you've been able to, doesn't mean bad things didn't happen, but good things you've been able to take away.
Yeah, just I think a lot of you all three mentioned a lot of it, but just really understanding the true meaning of tomorrow's not promised. You hear that all the time, and we say it's formality now. Oh, tomorrow's not promised, but when you lose someone, you really understand the words. JT was here one moment, and the next moment he was gone. So just understanding that, I think for me being a caregiver for my husband, and in the beginning I wanted to just suffer in silence. My husband he was so open with his story on social media to his friends. He was calling everybody. Did you get your checkup, man? Schedule your appointment. Like from the moment to he got diagnosed, he was calling everybody, and he would always go live and direct and at his appointments and here and there and just still enjoying life, because I'm sure instantly for him, when the doctor said you had cancer, for him, it was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow is not promised. And I need to tell my brothers and sisters, hey, go get checked up. And by sharing his story, I didn't realize it then. And I didn't even understand it then. I was just like the selfish wife of just wanting him to be okay and not wanting him to share anything. Like, can we just deal with this as a family? But we were dealing with it with thousands or hundreds of people on social media. It wasn't until after he passed away that I realized the impact that he made on others. So for me, I think it was important to share my pain, share my happiness, share everything with everyone who would listen, because I didn't want others, or I don't want others, to go through what we had to go through. And if they did or are going through it, well, here are some things that I did. Maybe it might work for you. So just to share my story, to get people the help that they might need to get through the storm. I feel like going through a storm is just easier with help than it is alone, and especially while you're carrying this heavy load. But for me, like Sylvia said, it was a struggle to get our team out to Alaska, but it was important for me. And just finding strength in my grief, realizing how strong I am. A lot of people, they would say things or continue to say things like, I don't know how you do it. And I don't think that they mean they have ill intentions, but this is not something that I chose to do. It's like my husband passed away and I'm not choosing to just climb into bed and just, stay there forever. This is something that I have to do. I don't have no backup plan. My husband was my backup. So it's something that I have to do if I want to make sure that my kids are okay, my grandkids are okay, and that myself is okay. So using my story and sharing my story to help others go through it has been a big positive for me, to be able to also step into his role at All My Usos, an organization that was started with him and his brothers, and just through his battle with cancer. and then to be able to take it from there, from what it was to what it is today. And we're making an impact on hundreds, if not thousands, of families in all different ways, some small, some larger, but being open to share my story and to share what I've been going through and what I'm going through currently is a big positive because it's helping so many different people. And I say that I don't want people to feel guilty or feel bad if you're not sharing your story or helping others, because everyone deals with things totally different. And just for me, this works for me. I just always chose to take my grief with me. From even JT passed away, I still was showing up for folks, visiting people, doing things. But it wasn't because I was healed or I was fine. It was just because I chose to take my grief with me. If it was a day that I was going to cry, if you were someone who really loved me, like you say you did, you're just going to deal with me while I'm crying and help me wipe my tears. And then let me have my moment and help pick me up. But a lot of times we don't want to do that because sometimes, the people who turn away, they I don't even know if they realize it, but I think that was the most hurtful thing to go through. But to be able to have all this positive, I think it outweighed all the negative.
Yeah, I think the positive that you take away, and it's thousands. You said we help probably hundreds, maybe it's thousands of families and people and lives that you're touching. That all of you are touching. And so I'm going to turn this over to Naki to take us out. But before we do, I always appreciate having these conversations because you ladies never mail it in. This is an emotional story. It's an emotional experience to share. And I never see you tell the story and half step it. You know what I mean? Like it's emotional every time you tell it. It's tiring every time you tell it. It's exhausting. But you never mail it in. And I admire you for your courage for, just putting yourself out there and telling people how you feel. So Naki, take us home.
Oh, I'm taking us home. I just wanted to thank you to you three, really, Carl, Sister Sel, and Sister Cree, for letting me walk in your journey. And you three have been the example that I needed to get through what I've been going through. I don't think people realize, even for a little bit, just to talk to somebody for a minute or two, or to vent, how important that is for your mental health. So I'm grateful for all three of you for walking with me in my journey and letting me walk with you through your journey. It's Cancer Awareness Month. We are here to help you get what you need. Go get checked, please. Get your physical, take your family. Cancer Awareness Month. If you need anything, you have any questions, reach out to all four of us because we will try to get you the resources that you need. We will come take you to your appointments, go to lunch and not talk about cancer. So go get checked. Encourage your family to go get checked. Reach out to all four of us, need be. We love you, and we're here every Thursday at 6 p.m. God bless you.
Love y'all.
Love you.